So since Black Ops Cold War Zombies is released, I haven't made a video solely focusing on our older games for about 4 months. Of course, now and again we're going to touch on it since we have things relating back to our old story, but it's been 4 to 5 months since I've done a video on World at War, BO1, 2, 3, or 4. So I thought, you know what? With everything that's going on in Cold War, I want to go back to the old zombie story and remind myself of the things that took place back then, because it all leads into Cold War, it's all connected. I'm not gonna lie, it's been that long that I'm kind of beginning to forget things. I used to know pretty much everything off the top of my head, but there's no better place to start than the beginning. Nacht Der Untoten. This was the first zombies map we ever got, and funnily enough, it is also a feature in the first zombies map for Cold War, which is Die Machine. It was all the way back in 2008 on the 11th of November, which will be 13 years later this year. That was when we got our first ever Call of Duty Zombies map. After completing the World at War campaign, this bonus game mode was unlocked, and it was something totally new to us. The standard in Call of Duty before this was a campaign and multiplayer, and then all of a sudden in 2008, this zombies mode was revealed, and little did we know, not only would it stand the test of time, but 13 years later, it is bigger than ever. We've seen Nacht Der Untoten as a solo survival map 3 different times: World at War, Black Ops 1, Black Ops 3, but we've also seen it make a cameo in Transit, Revelations, Die Machine. Without a doubt, we've seen this zombies map more than any other, but it's only right to start all the way back in World at War. The original Nacht introduced a few features to zombies that have become very familiar to us. It was the first time we saw the mystery box, the ray gun, weapons on the wall, but it was also missing things such as perk machines or the pack-a-punch. It was, as you would expect being the first map, the bare bones of zombies. This was Treyarch's experiment, as I like to call it. One of the more unique features about this map was the sniper cabinet. Whilst, in my opinion, not being very useful, it wasn't something that was used on other maps. Pretty much if you don't know what this was, there was a large cabinet. If you wanted to open it, you'd have to spend 1500 points, and inside there was a scoped Car 98K. A unique weapon because normally you'd get the one without the scope. Not the best, but I guess it was something Treyarch were trying. On the Black Ops 3 version, this weapon was replaced by the Locus and cost 5,000 points. That's probably a bigger rip-off than the original. Being the smallest map in Zombies, there wasn't too much else to do. There was a total of 3 doors you could open, and other than that, the only other thing you would have been spending your points on was buying ammo for your weapon from the wall, or spinning the mystery box until you got the ray gun. That was it. There were a couple of Easter eggs, the first one being a bunch of red explosive barrels, which if you shot, a song would begin to play, and then there was a radio which if you knifed, it would play a bunch of songs from the campaign. The first ever Easter eggs in Zombies. If you wanted to know the storyline of Nacht Der Untoten, as you'd probably expect, it is very simple. It takes place on June the 4th of 1945, where an Allied plane malfunctions over an airfield and crashes. Some German army trucks that were transporting the undead and Element 115 between Group 935 facilities is struck by the plane, causing a zombie outbreak, and we play as the 4 surviving Marines, where we have to hold out against the undead in this building. That's all the story is. It is a map taken from the World at War multiplayer, reused in Zombies, and our main objective is to just survive. It was a simpler time. In 2008, I would have been 10 years old, so I didn't get to experience it for the first time. I didn't get to complete the campaign and then be surprised by this bonus game mode, because also remember that YouTube wasn't massive back then. There were rarely any people doing videos on Call of Duty, let alone Zombies, so more than likely the way you would have found out about this would have been from completing the campaign for yourself. I wish I could have experienced that, but like I said, I would have been 10. I got into Zombies around about Black Ops 1. But if you guys discovered Zombies for yourself, I'd love to know in the comments if you can remember what it was like. It wasn't then until Black Ops 1 in 2010 when Nacht Der Untoten returned as a part of the Resurrection map pack. It remained largely unchanged, however. Since Black Ops took place during the Cold War, we had Cold War era weapons, but we also got a few new things such as the Monkey Bomb, the Thunder Gun, and Perca-Colas were introduced, be it only one of them, which was Mule Kick. Another big change to do with the storyline is we were now playing as Dempsey, Nikolai, Takeo and Richthofen, instead of the 4 unidentified Marines we played as in World at War. But to this day, it still isn't explained to us why in the Black Ops version we played as the Ultimus crew. In the Canorium, this event never happened. It's not mentioned anywhere. What reason would Richthofen, Takeo, Nikolai and Dempsey have had for going to Nacht? There isn't one, but in the Black Ops version, we play as them. Also, the radio in the help room now plays different music, which is mostly from Dead Out's Arcade. And then the third time we saw Nacht Der Untoten was in Black Ops 2 Transit, where it could be found within the cornfield. This was the first time we were able to leave the building. The help room was blocked up by debris. The only area we were able to access was the starting room. Unlike its previous iterations, there wasn't really any point to it other than holding parts of the wonder weapon. We don't know why Nacht is here in terms of story. Again, nothing is mentioned of it in the Chronorium. There could be a good reason to that though, because we view the Chronorium from Richtofen's perspective. Richthofen doesn't travel here himself. We visit Green Run as the Victor's characters, and Transit takes place in America, whereas Nacht Der Untoten is in Nazi-occupied Germany. So why are we seeing the Nacht building in America when the original version is in Nazi-occupied Germany, which now would be Poland? One thing you should know is the building itself is actually called the prototype within the game files. Maybe that tells us why it's in America. Could this be a prototype of the original built by the Americans for whatever reason? Maybe it was here due to temporal rifts and the fracturing of the universe. We aren't 100% sure. Nacht Der Untoten then made a fourth appearance in Revelations for Black Ops 3. Its reasoning for being here is easy to explain, since we also see parts of Dreisendrache, Mob of the Dead, Verrucht, and loads of other maps. They are all here together in the Ether, which is the location of Revelations, due to the Shadow Man. Nacht's main purpose in Revelations, in my opinion, is to be the centre, the link up between all of the other locations, but it's also used to trap the giant Apothicon Elder God in order for us to access the Pack-a-Punch machine. Within the building was Juggernog, a workbench where you built the shield, and a new music Easter egg which involved holding down 4 different buttons. Just like what we saw in BO2, Nacht wasn't meant to be the main attraction, so there wasn't much to it, but this was its 4th appearance. And now we come to Black Ops Cold War, where for the 5th time we see Nacht. It really is only a small portion of it though, but in terms of appearance it is vastly different. The machine takes place almost 40 years after the original. As you would imagine, since then it's been abandoned, hence why it looks run down. There is graffiti everywhere. I suppose you could say we saw it for a 5th time in COD Mobile, but I'm not going to count that. So without a doubt, Nacht Der Untoten has to be the most popular zombies map ever. It is returned more than any other, and if it wasn't for Black Ops 4, it would have featured in every game. Whenever I play this map, it takes me back to simpler times, even now, playing it just to get some footage for you guys. After playing Cold War for 4 months, and not playing Nacht Der Untoten for even longer, it really does remind you of how simple zombies used to be. There was no Easter egg, no storyline, that got included later on, no perk machines, no Pack-a-Punch. It was just you surviving in a building with a random box, and well, that's it. And that's really how Nacht has stayed. On Black Ops 1, they included a new perk. On Black Ops 3, we got the Wonder Fizz, which I think was a nice addition, but still, it was simple. We were trapped in this small building. It made features in Transit, Revelations, D-Machine, but the idea of it's always been the same. And I don't think there's another Zombies map that's like it. While the other World at War maps also don't include the content that Zombies maps do nowadays, they didn't have the simplicity of Nacht either. Whenever you just wanted to have a nice, I wouldn't say easy game of zombies, but you wanted to just survive with your friends in a room, seeing how far you could go through the rounds, it's still 13 years later the map to play. So there we go guys, that is it. That is all I have for you for today's video. As always, hopefully you have enjoyed. If you have, don't forget to drop a like rating, make sure you are subscribed to stay up to date with the latest videos on the channel, and as always I will see you guys in the next one. Until then, goodbye.